Ladies and gentlemen, I probably have the most controversial video that I'm going to put out right here, right now. And I'm going to get some flack for it because some people think like these are secrets. Okay, just because I've never done them does not mean that I never observed them and fixed them, to get a good opinion on a car. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the most savage things I have ever seen at an auction, but things I never did. So, if you've ever been to a dealer auction, you probably think everybody is just inspecting cars and bidding. Okay, like, that's not really how it works. Okay, like, most buyers are honest. Okay, and most buyers are trying to find good inventory. But over the years, I saw some savage tricks and tactics that people use to gain an advantage. And today, I'm going to talk about a few of them. Not all of them, but a few. Now, before I start, I just want to say these are not things that I did. Okay, I never did these things. These are things I personally witnessed or heard about while buying vehicles at an auction. And the biggest lesson here is it's not what it always seems. Okay, people are not gonna put cars back. They're gonna leave cars running. I'm not talking about that. This is like the juicy stuff that you tune in for to somebody who has zero background and zero desire to edit their videos and is just really trying to just give you the juice. So let's get to it. So probably the easiest thing that I would say that I ever saw anybody do is this is the craziest one, okay? Because when I figured it out, I could fix it really quick and then I would just leave it how I got it, okay? I'll circle back to leaving it how you got it, why that's important. Because it really is in a psychological standpoint, and knowing kind of where everybody is at on a certain car. Okay. But we're going to move on, and stay on track at least. But I remember seeing some vehicles come through the lane early on in my auction career with the ABS light on, the all-wheel drive light on, and the same check engine light on. Okay. So obviously, if you're a newer buyer, this is exactly what you're thinking. You're transmission problem, electrical problem, expensive problem. Okay. And a lot of buyers would immediately move on from that. Luckily, for me, I already knew about cars before I even took this position. So when I ran into that, I knew exactly what to look for and how to fix it really quick, which would end up with me leaving it exactly how I got it. Okay, I'll circle back to that. So, I guess at this point in the video, the main thing I want to tell you is don't ever be discouraged by the lights that you see on the dash in a car. Okay, do not let that discourage you. You have to do your due diligence in figuring things out. And I know it can seem really discouraging as a new car buyer that man, I'm just running into one thing after another. Trust me, I've been there. I've been there so many times that there were many times I wanted to stop doing the car buying deal and whatnot. And all I have to say is Bob Parsons said it best, is when you're ready to give up, you're closer than you think. So I kept exercising that and I kept powering through. And then after about 9 months, I was like, okay, I think I might have kind of a little bit of a hang of this. So anyways, I'm not saying that every vehicle with those lights is fine. Okay, don't take that away. Okay, just because, this vehicle says this is not wrong. I'm not saying that, okay? the best thing that I could probably tell you in buying cars is nothing is ever sweet. It's never sweet, okay? You got to know in your mind and in your heart that like a car is rock solid, okay? So, yes, the thing I want to reiterate is I'm not saying every vehicle with these lights on is fine, okay? Some of them could be like far from it, okay? What I'm saying is like inexperienced buyers learned to investigate instead of panic, okay? So because of assumptions, some people, it costs them at auction on a good car. So the first example that I'm going to tell you after the main example that we just exercised here is the guy that talks down like every car that like he walks up on, okay? He's going to tell you the transmission feels funky, this. I'll give you a personal real life example of one buyer who's in the same market as me. And after a while, he caught up with like what I was doing. He was previewing the drop-off lane, and then he was being ahead of everybody, being through all of the cars that are out on their auction spot and being ready at detail for cars that came out. Well, a car that came out, it was a Honda Odyssey. It was a 2016. It was a Touring. It was loaded, okay? And it was by a seller, Santander, okay, which sometimes actually has pretty low reserves on their vehicles. So I really looked at this Honda Odyssey here as maybe an opportunity for like a higher level dealer that I buy for, okay? And it would just be a very ideal car for them. So I was ahead. I had every car that I wanted for my main dealer scoped out, okay? So this is primarily going to like be a car for them. However, if I did get it cheap enough, I would put it on the main lot, okay? And we would forego the interest that any other dealers had. That comes with setting a proper expectation if you're going to be buying for other dealers. That is something that I think maybe the original dealer that I bought for really never ever grasped. So moving on, we get into the Odyssey and he's driving first. And as we're coming back to spot it in the detail lane, okay, which is something I don't do. Like if you're going to get in the car, put it on spot. You know what you need to know about it, okay? Unless you're leaving it back in the detail lane, it's going to be a car that you're absolutely 100% on, okay? Which I think he may have tried to imply here, but the situation was not that. So we both get out, and I go around to the driver's side, and he's like, so you need to drive it? And I was like, of course. And he's like, it's okay. It's all good. And when we were coming back to like the detail spot, I thought like I could feel like the transmission going, Now, I don't know if he was doing that with his foot. If I would have leaned over and looked, it would have been completely obvious. So I had to drive it myself. Well, I have a different route than he took, and it's more efficient. It is where I know where there's an incline, and it is smooth, and I can give it very light throttle, and I can know if that torque converter is slipping even at light throttle. I will have a whole other video that talks about if you had one chance to go down the test track, how would you drive a vehicle? Okay? But we'll get into that later. So I test drive it, and low key, it is actually not a good transmission. It's not good. Okay? It's acting funny. After seeing this, okay, and from what I told you in this moment, like, that is what I knew in the moment. I didn't know if he was hitting that throttle, okay, trying to back me off and make it think like maybe it had a problem. Low key, it did have a problem, okay, and I made sure to like put it on my list, okay. I made sure to put it on my list and see if he was ever actually bidding on it. And what happened was he was actually in the ring, but he never ever actually bid on it. So that's like kind of a psychological thing that a lot of other buyers will like play on you. They will play it out all the way to the very end. Okay? You just have to be ahead of them, and you have to have a very open mindset about who you can trust and who you can't. Never make a decision or ever go off of what somebody else says about a car unless you can know that you absolutely trust them, which situations like that are few and far between. So we're going to get into a couple more like hairy, like ultra savage things. Okay. So, what I saw, commonly at, Mannheim, Chicago, was somebody would clip an injector on a 2GR FE and make it run like very, very rough. Luckily, 2GR FE can handle that. But at that point, if you walk up on a car and the injector wires are already clipped, you can't. Because situationally, you're at Mannheim, Chicago, you can't drive anything. That's a hard pass. So, guys, I'm going to tell you something that I saw happen so many times it wasn't even funny. And that is unplugging a fuel pump relay on a car. So, obviously, you're approaching all of this from the broad perspective that you kind of have as a buyer, but there are specialized people that will come in and unplug a fuel pump relay on certain cars that they specialize in. So, with that being said, you really need to just sit down and take like an hour or two and either print up schematics and then take a picture of them on your phone, or look them up on your phone and screenshot them and then create an album where you could easily access them. I'm telling you right now, you will save a ton of time by knowing that. It's not really anything I ever mentioned to like my main dealer or any dealers, just because I ran into it so much that I thought that it was probably a prerequisite to being a buyer. So the next thing I'm going to say is hiding keys. At this point, the thing that really overcomes this is having a good relationship with like your lot managers and like your lot porters and your GMs. So sometimes it'll happen where you get kind of, you get a fury of cars coming out of detail. You are in the car that you saw out of the cars that were there, okay? And you're test driving it. Well, you go back to drive-by detail and none of the other cars that you wanted to drive are there. This is kind of a situation where you really got to make sure that like when you're test driving every single car, you are exercising the same routine every time. And you can really get that routine down to like 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. But I'm telling you right now, it takes a ton of discipline to exercise on that after 40 to 50 cars. Okay. It's really hard to do. But what some people would do is hide keys. And at that point, you do your due diligence, look under the seats, look into the visors, look at all the compartments, look under the cubbies on the opposite door panels. And if you can't find it, you need to make a call, okay? And you need to set that expectation that when it's done, you need to be notified. Or you need to make sure that you're remaining in the same vicinity that that car is in. So when it gets ready to roll, you can get going. Because all I'm going to tell you is somebody is hiding the keys from a car. That means that that car is most likely, I'm not saying every time, most times that car is good to go. And they're trying to make it so that nobody else can drive it. If you are at most auctions, okay, don't depend on them being able to rely on camera footage to kick people out. You need to be ahead of that and on top of that and be proactive. So the last thing is something that I saw you're going to see every single time, okay? You're going to be walking into the auction. You're going to see a car that you know is on your list, but it's not high on your priority list. And when you go back to go to it and drive it, it's gone. In this situation, it doesn't matter what auction you're at. If you're just talking about Odessa or Mannheim, you need to locate that car, okay? Don't let somebody hiding a car discourage you. Remember, it's just like the keys. If somebody is hiding a car from you, there's a reason. They don't want anybody else to know about it. So definitely one of my longest, if not longest, videos that we have here. But if any of this information is helping you out, please comment, subscribe, and like this video. Share it out if you have confidence. But thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helps you in one way, shape, or form. Okay.